Shams Charania is joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show from the bubble, and he is one of the best in the business, not only because he knows his stuff, but he works for 2 organizations. How are you, Shams?
Rich, I'm good. Hope you're doing well, and congrats on the move.
Hey, I appreciate you saying that. And as you know, there is a brave new world out there of so many different ways that you can get your information out there. You know that firsthand, and you are doing that from the bubble for The Athletic as well as Stadium. So let's talk about life in the bubble. How long have you been there, and how long are you there for the duration?
Yeah, Rich, so I actually just got here late last night.
No kidding.
So I'm just now starting the process. I'll be here. The plan is through the duration of the remainder of the playoffs. So I guess I'm here for the good stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it's an unprecedented moment in our history. It's a very unique, historic opportunity. But yeah, I'll be quarantined, I think, for the next 7 days. So I'll be in my room.
So you're in the entry portal, essentially, to the bubble? Before you're
basically,
okay.
Yeah, I'm in the entry hotel, and then pass the test, and then hopefully get into the bubble, and then there's another quarantine period. So the NBA has definitely done everything they can to make sure that there is no entry or infection level that spreads. So I'm feeling that part of that firsthand right now.
Are you literally? I'm serious now. Are you literally stuck in a hotel room for a week? Like you cannot leave that room, that door, and they are monitoring whether you are or not. Is that what's happening?
I don't know. I don't know if they're monitoring me, but listen, there have been a couple of players that have left quarantine, and then they just have to deal with additional days of quarantine, right? And like Bruno Caboclo, Rashawn Holmes, a couple of guys that have broken, a level of protocol really early in the process, and then they ended up having to quarantine an additional 10 days. I don't want to do that to myself. So I'm gonna stay on myself. I'm gonna monitor myself, Rich.
All right, Shams Charania here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get into it. A big exhale by Laker fandom. What do you attest the difference between games 1 and 2, or your entire bubble experience, and then game 2 last night?
I don't know if you can say there's a stark difference, but when Anthony Davis shows up at that level, he's had a couple big games so far in the bubble, but then he's also had some games where he might be a little less aggressive, a little less effective. Those 8, 9 point, 10-point games, that's not going to cut it for these Lakers. They need him to be dominant night in and night out, and I think last night was a good step in that direction. He didn't bring it in game 1 to the level that we expect out of Anthony Davis. And I think that's something that LeBron James is knowing the leader he is. He's going to continue to stress that on Anthony Davis and continue to try to get the best out of him. But this team will only go as far as LeBron James and Anthony Davis can take them, and the role players stepping up as well. And I think that was the biggest sign that you can take from game 2.
Well, I mean, that, and also, I guess, the dislocated left index finger of Damian Lillard, the outside of, I guess you would say, maybe even Devin Booker, the hottest player in the bubble since it had been created and there was a tip-off within it. And it just maybe gets that sense that the run of the Blazers took a considerable hit, even though there are no broken bones. What do you make of this development?
Yeah, so he has a dislocated finger, and like he said last night, there is a level of pain. There's some swelling. But listen, he's from. I spoke to someone close to him last night. He's from the town, the person said. So he's going to play
nice. In
game 3, and he's optimistic that given a couple days off and continue to treat that finger, he'll be fine. But that step back to his left hand and being able to shoot, it's going to have an effect. The question is how big of an effect it's going to have, and we're not going to know until he gets on the floor game 3. If it starts to affect his range, his ability to step back, ability to dribble with the left hand, then you're going to see a major difference and a big, big blow to this Portland roster, which obviously he has been the MVP so far of the bubble.
No doubt about that. And, obviously Milwaukee had a bounce-back game. Interestingly enough, the 1 seeds each scoring 111 points in their bounce-back games to even up a series at 1 apiece as they beat Orlando last night. And so what about Westbrook? Do we see Russell Westbrook at all? What can you tell us about his injury and how long we might see him on the bench for the Rockets, who are up 2-0 in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, I'm told, is progressing. He is every day doing a little bit more. Early this week he was standstill shooting. I think I've been told middle of this week and yesterday and today he's going to start to at least jump a little bit more on his shot and do a little bit more. So every day is a level of progress. There was some hope within the team that there might be a chance for him to come back this weekend. But again, up 2-0, they have the cushion right now. There's no real need to rush Russell Westbrook back. And I think the Rockets understand that. I think they will be very, very cautious with how they monitor his return. But he wants to play. I think there's going to be shock around the Thunder for sure if Russell Westbrook doesn't find his way back on the floor at some point in this series.
And so what's the Sixers' future looking like? We talked about it with your colleague from Sports Illustrated, Chris Mannix, yesterday, that the process that's been trusted might not be as trustworthy or trustable anymore, that this is the end of the process, that we have reached the end of it. And I know that Simmons is hurt, but Simmons and Embiid didn't seem to mix very well prior to the pandemic. So where do you stand on the Sixers right now?
Yeah, they're going to have decisions to make at the end of the season, on different situations, whether you look at the coaching staff, whether you look, different parts of the front office. But, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, those are two talents that you will not, it's hard-pressed to find, right? And when you have them and when you have them secured for multi-year long-term deals, the goal is to keep them. And from everything I've been told, the Sixers are still prioritizing a future around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And if that means maybe finding someone else to help steer the ship, I think that a franchise would rather do that and turn things over to someone that might be able to make it work. You give this as much of an opportunity as you can, because talent like this just doesn't come around. So if you feel like you have to entrust a new coach or whatever you have to do to make sure that you see this through, that is still my sense that is what they are hopeful of doing.
So, Sham Charania of The Athletic and Stadium joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do we see Mike Conley for the Utah Jazz? I mean, we get a tip-off in short order for the tip-off of the quadruple header with Toronto at Brooklyn in about an hour's time. But do we see Mike Conley for the Jazz after that in that Game 3?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is for Mike Conley Jr. to return today. He's been quarantining for 4+ days. And he's going to be back in the lineup. He's expecting to play, and it'll be interesting to see how that meshes with this Jazz roster, which has succeeded for the most part in both games. They had a chance to win Game 1 as well, and absolutely crushed Denver in Game 2. And Donovan Mitchell has really played well at point guard, and he's really relished this opportunity to have the ball in his hands. How will that impact his game with Mike Conley Jr. back in the lineup? I think that's a question that Utah has been trying to get a grip on all season long, and now it's going to be Game 3 question.
Okay, so let's talk about tonight's game between the Clippers and Mavericks. I mean, it's now a 5-game series. This is exciting. Luka, it does not appear that the Clippers have an answer for him when he is either not banged up or in foul trouble. And as long as Porzingis stays out of the crosshairs of the officials, it looks like this is the Mavericks series to take. What do you think?
They're going to have a shot here, and I think one more thing, Rich. No Patrick Beverley, and you saw the way that he really went at Luka the first few minutes of Game 1. You could tell Luka was in for a really, really long series, a tough series, a physical series, and Patrick Beverley has had this calf problem. He rested the calf issue during seeding games. It's now flared up again, and he's doubtful to play today. And so that is a big shot to the Clippers' defensive lineup, and I think a positive for the Mavericks. So they have a shot here to make this series competitive. I don't know if they win this, but they definitely have a shot here in the Mavericks' first run with this Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis pairing in the playoffs.
That would be just an absolute disaster. It's just amazing how things work. Like, you think the Lakers are in trouble, now you think the Clippers are in trouble, and who knows, maybe they wind up in a Western Conference Finals in that bubble anyway. But just the way that certainly with Hardaway Jr. looking the way that he's looking and the rest of the team contributing, you get the sense that the Clippers, without Beverly and Harrell needing to get his feet under him, that they're in trouble. You got that. I just get that sense, and it would definitely be helpful if they had, an actual Staples Center to get the fans getting them moving. But you just get that sense that if Porzingis didn't get ejected or be silly enough to get into that set two in game one, this could be an 0-2 hole that the Clippers are in right now.
I mean that's it very well could be, but listen, I expect Paul George will be better. He had a rough go in game two. I think he'll come back motivated and ready for game three, and I would expect him to step his game up. I would expect Kawhi to be Kawhi. Listen, the Clippers still have the edge here, as far as I feel. But listen, the Mavericks, no Pat Beverly, I think that only helps Luka Doncic's domination of the floor.
Any idea when Beverly could be coming back?
With Cass, Rich, I think it's all up in the air. It really just depends day to day. He missed several weeks in seeding games to rest and get better. It really, as far as I'm told, a day-to-day situation based on treatment.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the draft lottery. Last night, the Timberwolves win the 2020 draft lottery. And so this means that with the Warriors and then the Hornets right behind them, what a position for the Warriors. But I guess for the Timberwolves, they take who? Who do you think it's going to be?
It's a great question. I spoke to someone close to the situation last night. They're still looking at all names. I don't think you can rule anything out. I mean, obviously, Anthony Edwards, from a positional standpoint, makes a lot of sense. You heard a lot of talk about Anthony Edwards around the league, but this is a process, Rich, that this is unprecedented what's going on right now in the pre-draft process. These, league executives, this is not what they're accustomed to. So it's going to be a very patient process. Have a virtual draft combine most likely in September. See what more information and intel you can gather and try to make the best decision. I'm sure Minnesota will receive calls on the first pick as well, but I think Anthony Edwards right now positionally makes some sense. Obi Toppin is another name that you hear executives on the league point at as a candidate there. I don't know if James Wiseman is the fit. I don't know if LaMelo Ball is a fit there, given they have D'Angelo Russell. But those are the couple names that I was hearing right off the bat.
So basically, the Warriors signed D'Angelo Russell, right? They get Wiggins, and then they get the second overall pick. Anyway, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so they have the treasure, they have the flexibility, and they have now the health. What's the rest of the league thinking? They must be freaking out a little bit, right?
I mean, the Warriors, as long as they're healthy and these guys come back in top form, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, obviously this is going to be a tough team. And assuming, if Anthony Edwards goes one, the Warriors, James Wiseman's a guy that makes a lot of sense for them. And so you bring in Wiseman, you have him, and you have a team that's ready to go. And there are going to be veteran players across the league that want to join this team. There have already been some players that I know have been looking at them as a destination because you want to be a part of something like this. And so they're going to be right back in the thick of this next season, I'm sure.
Well, drop some names. Give me some names who might want to join the Warriors and just go ahead and make them a 60-win team once again in 2 seconds flat.
I don't know if I can spill any names yet, Rich.
What do you mean? You're in the bubble. No one's listening. You're in the Rich Eisen Show bubble. We'll just keep it between us. Come on now. What do you got?
Oh, man. I got nothing.
Oh, boy. But you're hearing already that players, once they are free of this 2019-2020 season, would be more than happy to throw themselves in the city.
I mean, you always have veteran players that are coming up on free agency that begin prioritizing, championships and wanting to be on contending teams and seeing different fit opportunities. Because, this Warriors team, besides the core guys, there's going to be some roster turnover on this team. They're going to have some open spots here on the bench and things like that. So definitely, I think it's an appealing location, appealing destination.
All right, Shams. Thanks for the call. Be safe. Hope you are fully injected into the bubble, safe and sound, and enjoy the rest of the way. We'll call you up as the weeks progress and the season continues and the championship possibilities dwindle for certain teams and blossom. We appreciate the time.
Sounds good, Rich. Thank you.
You got it.
Again, though.
Thank you. Same to you. That's Shams Charania of The Athletic as well as Stadium joining us here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.